Williams. I'm excited.
Me too. It's like my favorite guest ever.
Always.
And not about taxes this time.
No. It's how to succeed as a woman in business.
Yep.
That's not the official title, but that's what I'm calling it
Nice.
because that's what I think you're going to teach everybody.
Okay.
Yep.
So we're really excited. We got Jackie Williams here today, our favorite guest. Often we have her in here talking about finances and accounting and tax strategy, but today we're taking a little different approach because it turns out that in addition to being a world-class tax strategist and business advisor, she is the baddest woman on the planet.
Yep.
And a successful business owner. So today we're talking women in business and leadership, breaking barriers, building influence, and creating opportunities with our special guest, Jackie Williams. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
You look happy to be here.
I am.
I drove your car here today.
Yeah.
I wondered.
I guess I
who
could be
drove-
happier to be here.
Yeah. I got to drive the convertible. You got to drive the SUV, although it messed up my hair. But we'll keep the audio of this going. All right. So before we jump into it today, as always, going live every Wednesday at 9. No, blowing your minds every Wednesday at 9, going live at
Whoa,
9:05.
you
Why is that
messed
not in
it
the
up.
script? It's our 64th show.
I feel like you just memorized.
Streaming live on Facebook, Maverick Mindset Radio. Of course, you can check out all of our episodes on Apple iTunes. What is it? Apple Podcasts? God, this script is a disaster. We're on Spotify and, of course, MaverickMindsetRadio.com. Make sure you follow us on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. That's probably all the social media platforms you're on. But then go and find me on TikTok. I just changed my TikTok and my Instagram handles.
You did.
The Real Adam Williams. Because I couldn't get the Adam Williams and I couldn't get real Adam Williams. So I am the real Adam Williams. So that was an exciting development for me last week. Took a lot of time to find a handle that was going to work. So, but we're not here to talk about me.
Nope.
We're here to talk about women in business. And I just need to sit here and be quiet.
Yep. All Jackie today.
All right. So hit us with our quote of the day, Ashley, and then we'll jump into this.
Okay. Quote of the day is, if they don't give you a seat at the table, bring a folding chair, by Shirley Chisholm. And I chose that because when we were talking yesterday, Jackie kept saying, you know, pull up a seat at the table, find your seat, take your seat. Mm-hmm. So tell me, what does that quote mean to you?
I think it goes to show, one thing that we talked a lot about yesterday when we were preparing for the show is the outlook that you take on being a woman in business or being a woman in the business world is like, it's not about, oh, I'm a woman and so it's difficult. It's just like, I'm another person that's in business, and just show up like that. Doesn't matter if you're a woman or a man.
And take your seat.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like folding chair isn't the right one. Like, you would wheel in like a big comfortable chair, a throne
I guess I would stand.
Right.
on the table.
Well, no, I mean, yeah, not stand on the table, but I would. I mean, just
Jackie would just walk on up.
walk up to the opportunity.
So I
Yes.
think she'd build the table. So I think what inspired this show is you went to a Women in Business conference
I did.
a month or two ago, and you came back fired up.
Yes.
So we're like, all right, let's do a show on this. So where are we starting? Where are we kicking this off?
Let's start. Want to talk first about the breaking barriers and overcoming the bias. So you have this belief that you can do it regardless.
Yeah.
So tell us how that all started, what you got into, and where you experienced this.
So I think that where that all started for me was just growing up in my home life. Like, I don't think that either of my parents ever even suggested that I couldn't do something because I was, a girl. And so I think I always just thought I had the same opportunities as anybody. And then I think actually maybe what even built more confidence in it was I went to Villa Maria Academy for high school. And at the time, there were boys at Villa at the time, but there was probably 10% of our class was boys. It wasn't by any means equal. So the girls were actually the majority. So I never had the idea that I wasn't like, that I was a minority or that I couldn't be in the top 10% of my class. In fact, that was the thing that I wanted to do the most when I was there. And I think it was just I think maybe confidence building on confidence is like, I never even, I guess, thought I was breaking a
Right.
barrier. I was just showing up the best version of myself to every opportunity.
And then you entered into a field that was predominantly male, right?
Yes,
With the
yeah.
accounting and finance and baking world. So did you
Yeah.
feel it there at all? Was there that place where you felt that you had to work harder to make partner or to get where they were at?
I don't know that I had to work harder. I just worked hard.
Yeah.
So there was a quote that I saw this morning because you had asked me,
Yeah.
like, do you have any quotes? And I was like, I should make sure that I have one just in case. And it was like, the harder I work, the more luck I have. So it's not like I'm lucky. It's, you know, I make my own luck kind of thing, or I make my own outcomes. So I don't know. I think I don't ever feel like I wasn't seen as an equal, even when I got to Big Four accounting after college.
But what
to my male
do you
peers.
say to people that weren't raised like that? What do you say to people that were raised with, whether from their parents or from society or whatever, that you're a woman and you have limitations or different expectations set on you? What do you say to somebody like that thinks that way?
I think I would say prove them wrong.
Oh, I was just gonna say.
I was
that
going to
would've been
say hold my
answer.
beer. I was going to say hold my beer.
hold my Pinot Grigio.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's you make your own luck. You just, you know, people are going to say a lot of things. You decide how you show up.
I've found, not as a woman in business, but just as a person in business, like that prove them wrong mentality, like that use the thing that other people think is a weakness as a strength and like lean into it. That for me is always like, I look for those opportunities where somebody doesn't think I can do the thing. And
Yeah,
then go
remember
after
in
it.
high school, it was a big to say, you won't.
You won't. I forgot about that. I'm bringing that back. We're bringing that back.
Bring that back.
Wait, tell
Yeah.
me
Bringing that
about
back.
this. What, when do you say this?
Well,
Where does it-
When somebody says they're going to do something, you say, you won't.
Oh,
Yeah.
You won't, or what? Or like
Okay.
somebody steps in your face and it's like, hit me. You won't. It's like,
I like that.
we're bringing it back.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
use it too.
I forgot about that.
The Williams, you won't.
Man,
The Williams you want.
yeah, the late 90s, early 2000s were the best, man. Okay. You know, I was thinking about bias too, because I kind of put a social media post out there saying, hey, what should I ask Jackie? And somebody asked a really good question of like, what do you think about the businesses that hold themselves out there as woman-owned or minority-owned from like a marketing perspective? Like, we don't do that in our business, really. I mean, we put you out there, obviously, because you're an equal partner in this business, but we don't hold ourselves out as women-owned. So what's your opinion on that?
I mean, I wouldn't discount the fact that like people do come from the situation where they had to say maybe you won't, and then they like have their women-owned like business castle. There's other groups, not just women, that go through that, and so I think there's no harm in holding out that, and I think it's actually a celebration. I don't, you know, I mean, frankly, I there's probably more women-owned businesses that I like directly support because I know that. But
So it does actually move the needle for you
I
as
think so,
as a
yeah.
customer. That's interesting. Because I think you nailed it. I think it's great as a celebration. I think
Yeah.
that's really cool. But as a marketing tactic, wouldn't you rather just market on the fact that you're the best? Like, we're really good at what we do.
well, I mean, just like everything that we talk about, and
Yeah.
we're a women-owned business. So
Yeah.
like,
So
I
that's
mean,
it.
so I think it's like the and. It's like it's anding.
That's a really
There's
that's a good
no
answer.
there's no problem about like being like, obviously you're going to go for the best, and then it's also to be like, oh, and look at this badge we also have.
There you go.
Nice.
That's a
Yeah.
good answer. I like that. I didn't prep you for that question. I don't even know if you saw it posted out there, but I thought
didn't.
that was a good one, and I wanted to know your thoughts on it, because it's like we haven't really talked about it because it's never really been our thing. Could be our thing. So yeah, maybe we need to yes and that. Mm-hmm. That's good. All right.
Okay. Why do you think that women bring unique strengths and perspectives to the leadership role?
So when I think of women leaders, I think of a little more like coming from a softer place when they deliver maybe difficult news, or when there is conflict in my experience, there might be a softer resolution or a different perspective at the table, a different way to approach it. And so, I mean, I think that is one way.
Do you think that's changed from what it used to be? Because there used to be this bias that women had to be just as authoritative as men, where they had to be almost like they had to be meaner because they were trying to be seen as equal. And do you feel like there's a shift now where women are more standing in that softness of, no, this works too?
Yeah, I do think there's definitely a shift. I think that I'm also, I think it's just business wide. I think accepting like that there is another way of going about things. So I also think there are a lot of men that have taken like a more compassionate approach or a more measured approach, maybe than it used to be. So I think that there is just the movement of I think just a greater understanding of where people are coming from or different perspectives, being curious to different opportunities, different outcomes, I think has been big, but I think it's also been big because more women are getting seats at the table.
Yeah.
So men are now being exposed to those perspectives and saying, "Oh, this is good. There's something here. I should learn from this."
Yeah.
Yeah. That caused some change.
That makes me think about when we met with Bradley a month or two ago, and Brad posts all the time about how like his wife stays at home and it is his job to provide for her, and she is the homemaker. So I kind of called him out on that when we were there because I'm like, what's the deal? Like, you've got a very strong opinion on this. And he's like, well, dude, if my wife was a CPA, she'd be working. Like, it works really well for my family, but it's not for everybody. My wife doesn't want to work. She wants to stay at home. So yes, it is my job to provide for her. But no, if she wants to be out there, killing it in the business world, then absolutely go for it. So that was a fun conversation that we had with him. And gave me a different perspective from him, which I thought was really good. So what do you think? I mean, if you could wave that magic wand, right? So we've seen maybe a little bit of a societal change, probably not as much as many people want, but more women getting into leadership positions, more women leading, managing, running businesses. Like, if you could wave that magic wand and teach men something, what's the thing that you wish they knew more of? What's the message that you would get out to them?
That's a really good question.
Thank you. ChatGPT helped me come up with that one. It seemed like it would be good for our marriage too, so I'm asking this one.
I think, one of our core values, again, is curiosity over judgment in our business. And I just think that anytime, you could be quick to judgment, be curious. Where the person's at that you're, about to react to or respond to, respond with curiosity. And I don't know that I would give that to, just men. I think that goes across the board. But I think if you're trying to better understand a woman's position in business or what she might be dealing with outside of the business world and bringing, trying to leave outside of the office door, that's what I would recommend.
Okay, I like that. I think the other piece of advice that I would give to men is maybe just shut up for a second. Like that. No, seriously. I remember early in my career being in meetings with women in leadership positions, and they were across the board the best at making sure everybody at the table was able to express what they wanted to express, right? Like, I'll get it, and part of it, I don't know if it's gender or just I like to move things fast, but it's like, let's get into the meeting, let's get to our conclusion and move on to the next thing. But what I learned in some of those early meetings early in my career was like, well, let's stop and make sure that we've got some other perspectives here and make sure that we're making the best decision and making sure that everybody who wants to have a voice and wants to express themselves has an opportunity to do that. So that would be my advice.
Yeah. I also think that that's something that, honestly, I'm just coming more into my voice with myself because there have been times when I've had a seat at the table, but again, you don't know if it's the right time to speak or other people are speaking more around you. It's having the conversations about, hey, I didn't feel like I could get, what I needed to say in here. How can we make space for that? Or in some cases, it's interrupting if need be, in a polite way, hopefully. But I think it's kind of one of those things where it's probably going to be a little awkward at first if something like that dynamic is going on. But having the practice of learning how to make sure you get your voice heard is a big thing.
So I think that kind of relates to confidence, right? Like building a little bit of confidence, finding your voice. So what have you done to sort of reflect on how you want to show up and
Sure. So
be a leader?
So every morning I have kind of a morning routine where I just kind of reset my mindset, my day, what I'm looking to get out of the day, how I want to show up, and just what my intention is for the day. And I think that really, okay, am I showing it up as my I added a 6 core value, my 5 plus 1 core values today, or is this if I'm going to react, is that am I holding what I the intention I set this morning with this? I think that's been something that's really it's kind of what ignites my confidence, or how I want to show up.
So you use the word intention a couple times. Are
Yeah.
you showing up intentionally and saying, I intentionally want to be confident, or are you showing up more with intention of like, here's who I am and here's who I want to be, and the confidence is the byproduct of that?
It's the second point. So this is who I am. This is how I want to be. And then I feel like it's like a little like confidence fire starts inside of me. And so it's like, okay, I could let this thing happen to me, or I could be the reminder to myself that I'm in control of my day, my actions. So, I can act differently if I want to show up this way, or if this is the thing I value. So
you said you're in control of how you show up, and you're in control of your day. Did you always believe that?
No.
So what was the change that occurred?
A lot of coaching.
Yeah.
A lot of coaching out of a fixed mindset, or kind of like a victim mindset that sometimes we experience.
Can I explain the fixed mindset concept? Because
Yeah.
you know what it is, and I think there's probably a lot of people that aren't familiar
Sure.
with it. So there's a book conveniently titled Mindset by a woman named Carol Dweck, and she draws a distinction between a fixed mindset and a growth mindset. And most of us are raised with a fixed mindset, meaning we are a certain way, and that's how we will ever be forever. It's part of the reason that every time we get in the studio, or every time we get in the office and Ashley says, I'm bad at math, she's got a fixed mindset.
Yes.
Whereas the person with a growth mindset would say, but I can get good at math. I can put in the work and develop and grow. And not enough of us are raised that way. If you were the kid that misbehaved in class, you grow up as the kid that misbehaves, right? You can't change that. If you are the kid who doesn't do well in school, you're dumb, and you will forever be dumb. But I think a lot of people a lot of like influencers and entrepreneurs that I follow, a lot of them did have childhoods where they were getting in trouble, they didn't have the good grades, and it was that growth mindset that allowed them to develop new skills and get better at things. So I think that's an example. Is you weren't raised with much confidence,
Right.
but by being intentional and recognizing that you can grow and change and adopting that growth mindset, which you got from coaching, now hold my beer.
I think that I would just caveat that I do think that I had a level of growth mindset. I do think that there was some, and I do think that there was, my label was I was not as smart as my brothers because they had like high IQ tests or whatever. They were gifted. But like my dad was always like, yeah, but you have a good work ethic. And I feel like that is something that I was really blessed with, because I always then was like, okay, I might not have as high IQ as either of them, but I can. And I think that was one of the biggest blessings, was like, there was the belief that I have something that can get me to the next level.
I think that's the common denominator for a lot of people, though, that they don't understand or don't take advantage of. There's always smarter people out there. There's always richer people out there. There's always more experienced people out there. There's always better looking people out there. But the one thing you can control is the work.
Yeah.
You can outwork anyone, period. No exceptions. You can outwork anyone. But you choose not to most times. Most people, right? They choose not to put in the effort.
Right.
and not to put in the work because it's hard and you have to make sacrifices and it's really difficult and it can be really discouraging because when you put in the work and you don't get the results or the immediate results or big enough results, then you go back and say, oh, well, it wasn't worth it.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think?
I think that that's true what you're saying. I mean, I think that you can do it and you have to decide that it's worth it or what is worth it.
Yeah, so let's talk about that. How do you decide what's worth it? And here's, I think, what's underlying this for me, because this is something that I think, developed some empathy towards. I think that you've got pressures on you as a business owner, as an employer, as a leader, right?
Yes.
You've got pressures on you as a CPA, as a tax strategist, but also pressures on you as a woman, as a wife, as a sister, as a daughter, as a parent, as a
friend, mother, parent,
pile it on. So how do you balance all of those things, all of those pressures that are put on you?
Well, it comes down to deciding what needs to be most important in that moment. And if there's multiple things that are important in one moment, figuring out who you can have help you achieve what you need to achieve. And that was something that I took a long time to get to, right? It was always like, well, I need to do this, 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 and this.
You need to do it all.
Right.
So until you made the realization that you don't need to do it all,
right,
then you could prioritize.
Exactly.
But until you have that realization, everything is a priority.
Exactly.
So what have you done to overcome that, to realize that you don't need to be all things to all people?
I think it does come back to deciding who you want to be and who you need and want to show up as. I think in what your automatic order of priorities are. And then from there, understanding, okay, what all needs to get accomplished and who can help me get there.
So you made a really good point there that I want to flesh out a little bit too. You said you need to decide who you want to be. And I think where a lot of people struggle with that is they've got the pressures of what other people want them to be, right? The expectation that you need to be perfect in every way and all things to all people, that's someone's voice, but it's probably not your own voice. No one really believes that deep down. I think the most fulfilled people, and this is true whether you're a man, woman, or whatever else, but when you decide what it is that you want for your reasons and not other people's reasons, it's a heck of a lot easier to make those decisions. And those other things that other people perceive as sacrifices aren't really sacrifices because you're getting what you want and not doing or not getting what you don't want because that's pressure that somebody else put on you, right?
Yeah.
Jackie, you said two things yesterday. We were talking. One of them was that you said balance doesn't exist and resilience over balance.
Yeah.
So tell us what you mean by that, because everybody has that perception that there's this balance and it's achievable and you have to have it.
Yeah.
And then you're like, no, that doesn't exist. So tell us what you mean by that.
I think balance isn't like necessarily a balance every day, right? So it's not like every day it's going to be like, this is the exact amount of time for this and this and this and this. It's sometimes work is going to be really crazy and things at home might not be as great as you want them to be in terms of like you're not as as present as you want to be, or sometimes it's the other way around. And so I think when it comes down to it, it's like when you have resilience, you get like you identify what needs to get done, right? What's the most important priority, and you don't stop until it's achieved.
Yeah.
Right. And then get through that, but then schedule the time to make sure you are resting, because you do, in order to be imbalanced, you do need to, catch up. But yeah.
So what? Let's talk, for example, about laundry.
Okay.
You don't do a lot of laundry in our house.
That, yes. Yes, I do not do a lot of laundry.
And-
not
and
well, in our house, because when we are in our RV, I do a lot of laundry.
No, I get it, but this is exactly what I'm saying,
Yes.
right? Is you struggle to admit that you don't do a lot of laundry in our house. I don't either. I do less. I do zero laundry, right? You do marginally more than that, but somebody else does our laundry.
Yes.
And that's a hard thing. Has been a hard thing for you to admit and accept because there's pressure on you that you're the wife, you're the mom, you're the homemaker. You need to be doing the laundry.
I mean, that one, I actually, believe it or not, is less harder for me to accept than you and I think. But especially when I had to do it in the RV. Yeah, so that's something, for example, that I've let go of. And it's come with things that are sometimes are uncomfortable, right? Because that means someone is literally cleaning your dirty laundry. Like your dirty laundry is out there, right? But also,
Or in my case, washing every stick of chapstick that I have.
Oh man.
yes. Yep. There's also ways to avoid those getting to the laundry. But separate from that, there's also like I have a particular way I like certain things to be washed and stuff. So, that's been hard to let go of, or I just do those ones myself. I don't let go of that, right? And so I think laundry is a good example of something that, this is something you can give up. But with it, like you're sacrificing the comfort of like knowing that it's going to be done right, or that it's like, your level of privacy or whatever around it for like the other thing that you're going to do with the time that you get back from not doing the laundry.
So I think that's a great example of delegation in general.
Yeah.
All of those concerns that you had are the same concerns that people have delegating anything in their lives, whether
Right.
it's in their business, in their office, or at their home. There's worries and there's concerns over letting go of control, maybe sacrificing exactly how you want things done. Mm-hmm. And laundry is not the only thing in your life that you delegate.
Right.
So how do you get through those struggles, those mental struggles?
Looking at imperfection or failure as a lesson. So it's, the chapter that I wrote in the book that I'm in came out, was that April timeframe this year? Like the whole concept in there is that like, it's not failure, it's a lesson. Everything, like every failure is a lesson. So the concept of failure doesn't exist if you have the opportunity to learn from it. And I think that is very important when you delegate something, because you learn so much in delegation about communication, about setting expectations, about holding accountability. And it's just, and if you don't have those concepts, which, translate across, business, like teaching your kids how to be successful, mentoring people, you don't get to grow as a mentor, a business leader, or parent, and you're not helping people in the best way that you can.
So you have to let go of those lesser things so that you can
Yeah.
do the greater things.
Yeah.
Do you think that women in business have a harder time learning how to delegate than men do? Because there is this stigma that we do have to do the laundry and take care of the kids and all the things that stuff at home. So we don't delegate that. So you have to, again, like a mind switch to then in business, kind of tell yourself, oh, wait, in business, I can't do all of this either. Do you think that's harder for women to get through their head than?
I think the word that comes to mind for me is boundaries with that. So like, I think that women have a harder time with boundaries. I know I have a harder time with boundaries. So I guess I don't want to paint that broad brush. Maybe all women don't. Yeah. But in my experience, I will, overcommit to things, or I will, have a hard time delegating because I feel like I need to do it all. And so I think it is like, there is a beauty to having those boundaries, but then when you do have those boundaries, you also help people grow.
So first, let's take a slight detour to promote the book.
Yes.
So it came out in March. Steps to Success, one aha moment at a time, available on Amazon. But
Yes.
I bet if you reached out to us,
Yes.
email, Facebook, Instagram, whatever, we've got several copies floating around the office. We'd be happy to send you one. So Ashley was asking about, is the delegation piece harder for women than it is for men? That this throws me back to like Psych 101 in college, because I remember this was an aha moment for me.
Yeah.
I remember reading some studies around if women are successful, they tend to say it's because I worked really hard. But if men are successful, they often say it's because I'm so great, right? So there's a difference in the approach to that, both of which I think are completely wrong.
Right.
But generally speaking, those are the beliefs that men and women have. So yeah, I would think it would be harder for women to delegate if their belief is I have to work hard to be successful versus I'm just so naturally great and that's why I'm successful. And then yeah, it's going to be harder for them to delegate because they're not doing that work then.
Let's get into mentors.
Okay.
Because I think that's really important. And you were saying yesterday when we were talking that was the coaching and mentors throughout your whole career is what a lot of the times helped you to now be who you are today.
Yeah.
So how important do you think it is to seek out those mentors, coaches, and what were some of the coaching or mentoring that you sought?
Sure. So I think when you enter, I guess I was, in my experience, my first job out of college, I was at a Big Four accounting firm. And there was a lot of opportunity to be mentored in that space. There was a women's group where we had like a mentor assigned to us. And mine happened to be Erin Felix, and she was from Erie. So that was really cool. And then there's also so many mentors because it is such a tiered structure. So you have, if you're an associate, you have senior associates who will be kind of reviewing your work. And then you have managers who you have access to. And then there's senior managers and partners. And I would say that I was very fortunate to get a lot of technical skill mentoring in that space, both for men and women. And like we were talking about yesterday, I really think that their confidence in me was, as important from a mentor perspective, helped me to build confidence in my own work because they were confident in trusting me with work. As, some of the women who were, like, woo, women in business, at that stage. Right. So, across the board, many, men and women in that space were very helpful in my career.
What do you think about those? We did a whole episode on this, but what do you think about those formal, almost forced mentorship relationships versus the ones that just sort of occur naturally?
So I had experience both at, I feel we were just looking at my scrapbook with the kids from grade school to high school. And like we set up these forced mentorship programs as early as grade school, right? I actually have these pictures of my first grade buddies when I was in 8th grade from my, and then like the next page was like who my senior big sisters were at Villa, and I was the little sister. And so it, I was thinking about it, those were forced, and sometimes they were like well thought out. Like I had 2 cheerleading big sisters as my big sisters for at Villa. So it was kind of like, okay, they were already on the same path as me. Yeah.
Which is why you're so good at saying, woo, women in business.
Yes. And then it was like nice that the mentor I had when I got to KPMG was from Erie too. Like there was some kind of connection. So if you're able to find the connection with the people, the forced mentorships, I think they do bring things to the table maybe that you have an experience, but you also have a connection to start from.
Yeah,
right?
I think the answer to this is not you need more than one mentor.
Yeah,
right.
Absolutely.
You need a I hate the word plethora. You need a portfolio of mentors,
Yeah.
right? And they're all going to fill different needs, and some of them may be from those programs that are very formal and structured. And here's how mentorship works, and you're going to do this. And then some of them occur naturally. So like the friends that you make, that you work with, for example, And then there's the mentorship relationships that you seek out, and like the coaching relationships that you pay for or that you get paid for. I've kind of reached the point personally where like I choose not to mentor people just for the sake of mentoring them if they're looking for business advice. Like I want them to pay. I want them to have skin in the game, because I'm going to make them make changes in their life if they want to get what they actually want to get. And if they aren't financially invested in that, then it's not going to happen and they're not going to take the advice. So I've kind of grown tired of people looking for that, how about I pick your brain for a cup of coffee? No. How about you invest in this and show that you're committed, and then I'll help you change your life. So I think that balance of different mentors, different ways the relationships get formed, but also different mentors for different aspects of your life, because few people have exactly what you want. So for example, you went to the Women in Business Conference, which was run by Emily Frisella, and she and Andy have a great business and a great home life apparently, but they don't have kids, right? So there's advice that they give that is hard for me to take sometimes, because it's like they're missing that extra element in their lives.
Yeah. So there's a lot to say about mentorship. I think, there's different, like you said, you can buy coaching, right? That's one type of mentor. And I think that's been the rocket fuel for me, right? Investing in coaching, it's like you're buying access to like 3 or 4 steps ahead of the process, right? Whereas, there's people meeting you at the space that you're at now, which I think we kind of talked about, right? Like when we were kids, it was like my 8th grade buddy met me at 1st grade, and my senior sister met me at freshman year, and my manager, KPMG mentor met me at associate. But what I think is also very valuable is peer mentoring. So not just people who are several steps ahead of you, but people who, if you're sitting in a group and you're masterminding an issue, or I've participated in the Athena Circle of Trust with peer mentoring with a bunch of other women around my age that are going through different things, maybe where we all kind of help each other. And then right after this, I'm going to my EO forum group that we're hosting. I get to host it in Erie in their Pittsburgh group. And actually, I'm going to be at the table with 4 men.
Yeah, in that case, you
and I'm
you
the only
brought
woman at the table. Yeah,
you brought the table.
I brought the table, and I'm the only woman in my group. And so that's very valuable because, and I do pay to be in EO,
right?
But, they aren't, charging me directly for their advice or anything. And it's amazing all the different viewpoints you get when you have an issue at the table with those folks. So I think, there's a lot there. You can, yeah.
Well, so what about, so you talked about going back to 1st grade and being the younger buddy through high school and into your career, now the peer mentoring that you do, but haven't you also reached that level now where people are looking up to you and looking for you to serve as a mentor to them?
Yes. So, so with regards to that, I mean, I actually recently had someone that I worked with at PNC reach out to me with some questions, and we're going to, do a Zoom coffee. So yeah, people reach out to me as well. And
I think the most impactful mentors are the ones that are mentoring without even knowing it.
Yeah.
Because they're being watched. They're being watched by what they're doing, what they're saying, how they're approaching things. And like I said, then people start to look up to you. Now, you and Adam do that perfectly. And you don't even realize that you do it. But a lot of the reasons why people...
I disagree. I think we're very intentional about it.
Well, you don't realize that people are watching you and saying to themselves, and their first thought when they're in situations are, what would they do? How would they approach this? This is what I've heard them say. This is the action I know they would have taken. And I think that's why people start seeking out to say, hey, how do I do this? What do I do? Because you've showed them through your actions and how you've intentionally built yourself up as leaders that now they want to know even more. Like now they are intentionally seeking you out And I think that's really important that, again, you've made that intention to how you want to show up at the table and how you want to be leaders. And it's caught people's attention. And so you've become mentors to people without even realizing that they have your voice in their head when they're trying to be successful.
Hopefully it's a good voice.
It is. It is.
Well, that's the point. I mean, one of the things that we're very intentional,
Yeah.
very mindful of is setting the example and setting the standard.
Yeah.
That's it. We're demonstrating. So
Yeah.
speaking of setting the standard, I think one thing that a lot of people think about, but also women who have additional pressures on them, it's like they get that feeling or that thought that may creep into their mind of like, I just need to quit. I want to quit. Like, I want to give up. So I know you've been there. What pulls you back in? Like, when you get that voice that says you should just quit, you should do something else, you can't do it all, what pulls you back in?
So I think it comes down again to there are things that we need to say no to at certain times, right? And so why am I saying yes to this? And am I being called to this? And I personally feel like when I say am I being called to this, I mean, I don't know who people believe in, but I feel like is God, calling me to do this work? And if I believe it, then I keep at it and I ask for strength.
I think that, so the distinction that I use in that example is, am I doing this out of inspiration or out of obligation?
Yeah.
So am I being called to do it? Sure, whatever phraseology you need. But yeah, for me, it's inspiration versus obligation. And when I'm doing too many things out of obligation, that's usually when I'm like, this sucks and I hate it. And I shut it down and let's move on to something else. And then I get back to, let's get back to what inspired me or what am I called to do, and let's focus on
and
that.
so to kind of say back to you what you said a little differently, there are going to be times that you have to do stuff out of obligation. It's your mindset that needs to shift to inspiration on it. So
oh yeah, go ahead. Yeah, I know what you're gonna say, and this I don't have the answer for this, but this one, because
that's what I feel like you just said, right? Sometimes
Yes.
it's like there are things we have to do, and both of us have been on 75 hard, right?
Yep.
So there are times when, like last night,
Yep.
I
almost
did
quit
not
yesterday.
want to drink all my freaking water. I waited
that's
too
the
late,
worst part.
and I stayed awake to drink water. That was what I did, and I didn't want to do it. I did it out of obligation. It was not inspirational at that time.
Yep.
But I'm glad I did it. I'm here now, and I'm very hydrated.
The thing that you say that I have, this has never worked for me, but I think it works for other people because it's such a common saying. But they, instead of saying I have to do this, say I get to do this. I've never been able to buy into that, right? Like I've never been able to say, oh, I have to do this. No. I'm just going to reframe it and say, I get to have my broken down truck towed back home, right? I don't have to do it. I get to do it.
Yeah.
Does that work for you?
Lately, when there are things that I don't want to do, I don't say like I get to do this, but I think of what are the benefits that I have, or what are the privileges that I have, or what are the blessings that I have because I've gone through stuff like this to get to that.
Yeah. Pressure is a privilege.
Yeah. So it's like I'm wearing some really fancy shoes today, or and
I was wearing Gucci sneakers as I was crawling under my truck that wouldn't start. So
exactly. So
Well, there's that.
take a minute, maybe change your shoes if you're going to crawl under your truck, but also look at them and be like, look, I get, I've got all this.
Yeah, so maybe
could be worse.
maybe finding the gratitude,
Yes.
not just lying to yourself and say I get to do this, but maybe finding that gratitude of like what got you to this moment and where are you going from this moment,
And also just like, there's gratitude in the fact that you're breathing in that moment and you're tackling that. There are people that, didn't wake up in the morning, so it's like I get to learn from this situation, and I bet there's a bigger opportunity coming for me because I learned a lesson from this.
okay, that's a good one.
That's kind of how I also try to frame it.
What actually, I just saw a question in our script that I want to ask because I like this one. Shit, squirrel. What's one mistake you've seen in businesses make when it comes to supporting women in leadership, and how can they fix it? That was Ash GPT who came up with that one.
Ash GPT.
Get it because it's Ashley,
Ashley,
but I
I get-
shortened
yeah,
it
okay.
and then
Yeah.
Yep.
ChatGPT. Okay.
So, I will say that. How about one way that a former employer got it right for me? Can I phrase it that way?
You may.
So, and this kind of goes into some other topics we had, but about, I don't want to say this number, more than 10 years ago, I was able to work remotely. I was able to move back to Erie and do telecommuting for my employer in Pittsburgh and drive into the office one day a week. And
This was pre-COVID, before work from home was really a popular
yes, I mean,
thing.
it was like, there were a lot of rules around it. There were a lot of, like there was the concept of it could be taken away at any moment. So that's why I have absolutely no sympathy about people that are like, oh, I have to return to the office. I'm just like, well, for those of us that are the OGs, that was always on the table. So separate from that, it gave me the ability to get more out of my day when I didn't have support, right? I didn't have to make a commute. I could live in a place that I wanted to live, and it was inspirational to me, and it gave me more opportunity to get the things done as a woman that I felt I needed to get done at the time, and having the flexibility. And so I think being creative and flexible in how and approaches to work, I think has been how employers have been getting things right. Now, that being said, I wouldn't have given up the one day in the office that I had to drive to Pittsburgh, because it also, it served its purpose. I also still was visible by the leaders that needed to see that I did more than sit behind a screen. I was in important meetings. And that because of how I worked when I was there, they could trust that my work was getting done when I was home. And so I think that being more creative about work solutions is how we can get there. I think that we've made huge strides in that through the COVID process. But that was, I think, very big for my career.
I think that, yeah, that's a good one. Not no, this doesn't work, but how can we make this work?
Yeah, and I think it's like, how do we make it easier to do what needs to be done?
Yeah.
How do we keep women coming back to work or staying in the workplace after they have children? Flexibility in schedules.
It's good. So when you think about your legacy, what do you want other women to remember about your impact?
I want them to remember hope and wonder from me.
Go on.
That you have the ability.
Those sound like children's names.
Hope and wonder.
I want them to remember hope and wonder.
Well, like, you can have the things you want, and you should wonder for more and want for more. But you just have to wonder enough to figure out how to make it work.
Curiosity.
Yes, wonder, curiosity, and then go make it work.
Okay.
I think persistence is part of your legacy, because
Thank you. I appreciate that.
you have a vision, you have a goal, and you're very persistent through all the things to make sure that happens, and happens your way. And happens in a Jackie way, right? That your fingerprint is on that. And I think, if the wonder and the hope are your natural characteristics. It's who you are. But when I think of Jackie, business leader Jackie, I think of like a persistent, hold my beer, I'm going after this type of person. So I really think that is what you show people, because you work really hard.
And that's what made you so tough.
Yeah.
I think. And you need, like, I don't care your gender. You need to be tough to succeed in business. Like you need to be so resilient and so unfazed, and you can't have thin skin, and you can't be a wimp, and you can't want to throw in the towel every single day. And the only way to get tougher is to start being tough.
Yeah.
Right? You have to get punched in the face several
Step up
thousand
to the
times.
challenge. Yeah.
Yes. And you need to stick with it. So yeah, I think that persistence and that continue like that. I think that's what really separates you. Like, yeah, you wonder, and that helps you be creative, and I think it helps you craft a vision and relay that vision to the team. But the vision is nothing without the work.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that's the piece, is like deciding what you want and going after it, and not letting anyone or anything or any circumstance stop you.
Mm-hmm.
That's the recipe. Right?
Yeah.
Like, there's no magic to it. But I think that's one of the things that a lot of people struggle with, is they think there's some magic bullet. They think there's just some fairy princess unicorn Santa Claus out there that's going to fix this for you. And it's like, no,
Yeah,
princess, it's you.
Right.
Like, you have
You're
to
not coming to be
do
rescued,
the
yeah.
work. Yeah. But I think, again, like you said, prioritizing what it is and acknowledging that not only can't you do it all, but you don't really want to do it all. If you really sat and
Yeah.
examined it, you don't want to
And
do
you
it
don't
all.
have to do it all.
Yeah. I think that was a good turning point for us in the pandemic too, because that early in the pandemic, that's the hardest we've ever worked
Yeah.
as a team. And that was the moment that like we hired a nanny. Like, there was a person in our house watching our children while we were working.
Yeah.
And that's a difficult thing to do. But we've also had a nanny in our house watching our kids while we just relax, because that's what we needed at that moment. And man,
Yeah.
that is a really difficult thing to get over. I think as a parent, but in particular, probably as a mother, like,
Yeah.
no, I should be mothering right now because I'm a mother. And it's like, well, no, don't you need to put yourself first and put on your own face mask or
Yes. Yep. Put on,
like an airplane, not
yeah,
like a
oxygen mask.
not
Yeah.
like a peel, like a chemical peel
or a COVID mask.
or a COVID mask.
Well,
Yeah, I
maybe.
didn't-
I mean, that
I
was
didn't-
Yeah, that's what
didn't
I
like
thought
wearing
he was
those anyways.
referencing. I thought you were going to COVID mask.
No, I meant
'Cause
like in an airplane, or like, you can't pour from an empty cup.
Yeah.
right.
All right.
So, what would Jackie today tell Jackie from 10 years ago?
You don't have to do it all. Yeah.
So what are some of the things that you thought you had to do that you no longer believe?
I think there are a lot of household stuff. And even when we hired, a housekeeper, and when we hired a nanny, that was I would almost say that I had like a breakdown in that time frame. Like it was a kind of a crisis for me, because I was feeling like, whoa, what is my purpose? Or, I think there was also like some uncertainty in where we were pivoting the business to at that point as well. And so there was a lot of uncertainty for me. So I think that was one of the hardest things, but it was also like a kind of a confidence too of like, okay, I'm going to stand in this and
That's
do
really
whatever
interesting.
I need to do to make sure that this works.
Because I think that something about that is just a very American thing. You can go to a third world Central American country and they have housekeepers. They have cooks. They have people helping raise their kids. And like, there's no stigma around that. It's just what everybody does. And then you get to America and it's like, oh, you have two working parents, but someone else drives your kids home from school. Well, yeah. I like to drive my kids to school. It's a great conversation. And sometimes I'll pick them up after practice or whatever. But yeah, like, get them home, get them started on their homework, start prepping a meal for us, because we're going and doing the things that we value more highly at that moment, so that we can show up for our kids as the best versions of ourselves. And it's not get home and get them doing the homework and do the laundry and do the dishes and all this obligation. It's more like, no, let's show up as really great parents. And in order to do that, here's what we got to do. All right, what's the one thing that you wanted to get out today that we didn't give you time for?
Just always a lesson, never a failure.
What should so if there's a business owner struggling out there, particularly a woman business owner who says, "Oh man, I can't do this. This is too difficult. It's not worth it." What's your advice to them?
Is it aligning with how you want to show up, who you want to be? And if it's a step, if it's going to be a stepping stone on there, look at it as a lesson and be persistent.
We can do that. Great show.
Yeah.
My favorite guest,
Yeah.
as always.
Me too.
Happy to
I
be
don't
here.
know.
Thank
I don't
you
know
guys.
how much of you guys had a lot of notes prepped for this one, and I
Yeah.
think we got into a lot of it. But we got into
I
some
think we
other good
did.
stuff
I think
Yeah.
we covered a
Yeah.
lot of.
That was great. Well, I look
Yeah.
forward to having you back on a future show.
That would be wonderful.
And this
Thank you
was
both.
a great episode. So thanks for tuning in, everybody. Have a great week. I believe in you.